There is absolutely no shortage of goodwill in this country. There is no shortage of Australians who want to see the best outcomes for their fellow Indigenous Australians who are our most marginalised.
Premise for the voice is that Aboriginal people don't have a voice. Aboriginal people already have a voice.
Now, the Aboriginal population is officially 3.8%, but we've got 11 Aboriginal MPs in the federal parliament.
So, we're overrepresented. Isn't that fabulous?
We spend billions of dollars a year through organisations like the National Indigenous Australians Agency.
There are more than 30 land councils.
The National Aboriginal Community Controlled Health Organisation.
There's also a so-called Council of Peaks,
made up of more than 80 Aboriginal community-controlled peak organisations and members.
The Prime Minister, for goodness sake, has his own Indigenous Advisory Council.
The Aboriginal industry, the people profiting off marginalisation.
How big is the wastage?
What proportion of productivity we get from that investment? I would say less than a quarter.
All these public servants, all these Aboriginal corporations, all these non-Aboriginal corporations, they're being paid to close the gap. Why aren't they doing their job?
They have been there for a very long period of time, and the gap has continued while they were there.
Taxpayer already forks out about $40 billion a year to close the gap.
We spend billions of dollars in Indigenous affairs. Why don't we make people accountable?
I want to find out how the billions and billions of taxpayer dollars going into these organisations are actually being spent.
The former Prime Minister John Howard utters the sentiments of millions when he says most Australians are frustrated, really angry, that so much money has been spent, but there is such little progress.
Well-meaning Australians are being lied to, told that the problems in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities are a product of systemic racism.
We've seen dreadful statistic after dreadful statistic, and yet nothing changes in those communities.
You recently asked in relation to the voice, why are we doing this to ourselves? Can you answer your own question?
Well, I don't know. And I think the question that the government has to answer is why are they putting the millions of Australians who care about the future of Aboriginal people through the misery of an election campaign where they're being asked to endorse something that hasn't been explained?
Well, I think it is pretty straightforward.
But saying it's simple and clear and straightforward doesn't necessarily make it so. People don't get it, and that's a fact.
So what agencies are we going to take away or downgrade if the voice is going to do the job?
We haven't seen the detail of how this voice will magically fix the problems facing Aboriginal people.
I want to know what's working and what isn't, so that we can actually properly aim our resources to help those who are most in need.
It's not all hopelessness and despair. It can be better, but it won't be made better by inserting an elaborate chapter into the Constitution that could be interpreted in any way.
Let's continue to be one Australia together and not a country divided.